I'm Toby Balch, and I'm the sector lead for hydrogen for the province of Nova Scotia, which is located on the Atlantic coast of Canada. In the next 15 minutes, I'll give you an overview of the rapidly advancing opportunities for green hydrogen project developments in our province, highlighting the efforts that our government, along with our strategic partners, have put in place to create enabling conditions for the success of the rapidly growing hydrogen sector. I'd also like to invite you to stay for the following 3 talks after me, where you'll hear about the exciting developments from 2 of our large-scale hydrogen export projects, which will be followed by a presentation on hydrogen research, development, and innovation in our region of Canada. So why Nova Scotia? We, like many other jurisdictions, are in pursuit of a green energy transition, and to support these efforts, we're using our geographic advantage to harness the power of the wind. The recent surge in global demand for green hydrogen has sparked strong interest in Nova Scotia's offshore wind resource. To reach competitive scale, green hydrogen projects will eventually require access to the substantial energy available from our offshore wind. With these resources and others, Nova Scotia is perfectly positioned to become a global leader in offshore wind and green hydrogen. As you can see in this map, Nova Scotia offers one of the world's most competitive, untapped offshore wind resources. With Nova Scotia on the right-hand side, this map shows the area with greater than 10 meters per second wind speed, highlighted in red, demonstrating our tremendous offshore resource. Wind speeds off Nova Scotia are both consistent and are world-class, rivaling the winds of the North Sea, where the offshore wind sector started, as you all know. The international market is interested in our product, as is demonstrated by the Canada-Germany Hydrogen Alliance, initiated with a joint declaration of intent signed in August of 2022. And there are active conversations occurring under this agreement, as well as with other jurisdictions, to further enable hydrogen export opportunities powered by the wind. Canada has a long history as a reliable partner for energy exports, and green hydrogen production and export of derivatives such as ammonia and sustainable aviation fuel can position Nova Scotia as a leader in this space. This creates an economic opportunity for the province by leveraging our world-class wind resources. As you can see in the map on the left, Nova Scotia has a large and relatively shallow continental shelf, ideally suited for cost-effective scale-up of offshore wind production. The large area outlined in black shows the regional assessment area, which is over 300,000 square kilometers, and currently going through a process to identify areas that are most suitable for the upcoming call for bids for licenses for offshore wind. The call will be supported by a jointly managed process between the governments of Nova Scotia and Canada through an offshore energy regulator that is already in place to manage oil and gas development that has occurred in this area. This demonstrates that we have the relevant technical and regulatory expertise and shows strategic and regulatory alignment between our governments. On the bottom right-hand side, you can see that Nova Scotia has established shipping routes to European ports, including Hamburg, Rotterdam, and Antwerp, with one of the shortest shipping times across the Atlantic, which is an additional feature that positions us well for success. As previously mentioned, Nova Scotia is in a prime location, has the necessary resources needed to develop offshore wind. There is also access to land for onshore wind and solar energy production, and Nova Scotia has existing infrastructure and advanced hydrogen projects. In fact, these projects all plan to reach their investment decisions based on early phase development utilizing offshore clean energy production. Actually, using onshore clean energy production is key for this. As you can see from the photos here, on the right, you have existing and approved industrial facilities for large-scale hydrogen production for export. So at the top, you have the Everwind Fuels facility, which has infrastructure in place related to petroleum transshipment and is a really good start for development of a hydrogen export site. The next slide down, you see that Bearhead Energy also has a site under preparation with a significant investment there. And at the bottom is land that in part Simply Blue Group has acquired. Bearhead will be speaking next. Everyone will be speaking after them. And then Simply Blue Group is represented at our pavilion if you can catch Andrew Parsons. These areas also have deep water ice-free ports that allow large-scale projects to safely access global markets year-round. In addition, Nova Scotia has ample freshwater reservoirs and subsurface storage capability, which are actively being designed and developed to support hydrogen production. We also have a professional and competitive workforce and a supply and service sector that has experience in industrial development in large-scale energy projects, both on and offshore, which is actively supporting current project development, along with the international expertise that, of course, will be needed here as well. These natural advantages and strategic allocation of resources, along with our alignment with the national vision for clean hydrogen, make Nova Scotia well-suited for a robust and diverse green hydrogen industry. Enabling the opportunity to bring more onshore and new offshore wind developed into Nova Scotia is intended to firstly produce clean electricity, which could support Nova Scotia and Canada in achieving commitments with respect to climate change. Secondly, support the global transition to clean energy supply. And thirdly, to create opportunities for sustainable economic development in Nova Scotia. With the intention of creating enabling conditions for hydrogen and offshore wind sectors, our Premier announced a target for offshore licenses for 5 gigawatts of offshore wind by 2030, and work is underway to make this possible. This presents an opportunity for global and domestic producers to participate in shaping one of the most promising new offshore energy wind markets. Our goal is to launch the first license call for offshore wind by 2025. And the opening of at least 5 gigawatts of offshore wind will give developers a central position in shaping market pillars, including local partnerships and optimal pathways to market for power. In addition to our commitment to developing offshore wind, we are also committed to creating enabling conditions for the development of hydrogen projects, with more on that coming up in the upcoming slides. As part of providing clarity and establishing enabling conditions for large-scale production of clean electricity, in May of 2023, we released Module 1 of our offshore wind roadmap. Module 1 outlines our approach to site selection, seabed licenses, and support mechanisms, and outlines future roadmap phases. It provides industry with direction on the planned work to complete the federal and provincial regulatory processes. Canada has taken the first step in introducing legislation to expand the mandate of the Canada-Nova Scotia Offshore Petroleum Board into offshore wind, as I mentioned before, as the offshore energy regulator. When that is completed, Nova Scotia will introduce its mirror legislation to fully enable the legislative change. This will enable offshore wind to happen in the Canada-Nova Scotia offshore area previously shown. Module 2 will release this June and will focus on supply chain, infrastructure, and clean inclusive growth opportunities. And Module 3 will follow later this year and will present results from ongoing engagement with interested parties and Indigenous communities, another critical component of our future success. In response to the emerging clean energy opportunities and significant global interest, Nova Scotia released its Green Hydrogen Action Plan in December of 2023. The action plan sets out conditions for the growth of green hydrogen industry and will deliver clean energy solutions, create green jobs, strengthen rural communities, and drive economic growth. It outlines a path for Nova Scotia to support an emerging sector that will make the best use of the province's natural resources to produce green hydrogen and hydrogen derivatives for export and domestic use. It also ensures that the green hydrogen sector is developed in alignment with Nova Scotia's environmental and climate change goals. The Green Hydrogen Action Plan lays out 7 goals and 23 actions that consolidate and build upon our efforts to date while setting a path for future development. The action plan is high level and it's directional in keeping with other jurisdictions, which allows it to be responsive and adaptable to a fast evolving sector. In laying the groundwork for development of this sector, 28 tasks under the action plan have already been completed or initiated by the province and its partners, a clear demonstration of our commitment to the success of this industry. Also in the Green Hydrogen Action Plan, we outline ways to support innovative projects for our region that demonstrate domestic use opportunities for hydrogen. Our gas utility, owned by Eastward Energy, operates one of the most modern and hydrogen-ready gas distribution systems in North America, and it is well positioned to begin blending hydrogen into its pipelines to reduce the carbon intensity of the system. Blending can be one of our first major uses of hydrogen in Nova Scotia, and the province is committed to working with Eastward to advance the blending opportunity safely and economically. Heavy-duty transportation and marine shipping represent a significant amount of greenhouse gas emissions in Nova Scotia. Hydrogen fuel options for these sectors are rapidly developing, and we look forward to working with industry partners, including ports in Nova Scotia, to position us to take advantage of the most economic opportunities to decarbonize this sector. We are also exploring the opportunity for hydrogen in hard-to-abate sectors like heavy industry, which may not easily be able to be electrified. In Nova Scotia's Climate Change Plan for Clean Growth, we committed to the establishment of a Clean Fuels Fund, which will provide funding over the next 2 years to support the clean fuel sector in Nova Scotia. The first year of this fund saw incredible demand, and we look forward to a second round later this year, along with leveraging other support mechanisms available by our national government partners. So in summary, Nova Scotia is committed to supporting green hydrogen and the associated clean electricity development from onshore and offshore wind. With our tremendous offshore wind resources, we took a proactive stance to unlock this resource by setting targets for offshore wind. We are working with our national government partners to rapidly evolve well-designed rights allocation processes consistent with existing frameworks in place. We have already allocated land for onshore wind power for early-stage power production that is helping kickstart hydrogen export projects. Nova Scotia has significant water and forest biomass resources and is actively supporting their sustainable use for production of hydrogen and associated derivatives. We are committed to providing stable and predictable legal and regulatory frameworks, many of which are already in place. The success of this industry also requires active engagement with national government to enable export and domestic hydrogen projects, and is approached from many touch points within our government as well as with our local government partners. This includes leveraging proposed federal investment tax credits and other finance mechanisms to accelerate investment in line with our significant support to date and on a go-forward basis. Through demonstrated actions such as these, Nova Scotia is setting enabling conditions to shape one of the most promising new offshore wind markets and development of globally competitive green hydrogen projects. We welcome your interest in our province and in helping us in the sustainable development of our exceptional natural resources toward meeting new demands for renewable energy. So here's a list of our partners that are here with us, some of our partners that are here with us at the World Hydrogen Summit. We invite you to drop by the booth this afternoon, pick up some of our Blue Nose pins, and any further information we can provide, we'll be happy to do, or these presentations will be available later, and we're also happy to introduce you to some of our partners. As I mentioned at the start, I encourage you to stay for the next 3 talks, where we'll have presentations where you'll hear from exciting updates on 2 of the projects, and it'll be followed by a rich landscape of research, development, and innovation initiatives in our region.